Hey, what's up everybody? JK reporting live here from the Fishtown neighborhood in the city of Philadelphia. Going on a big walk today. I've got a 2-ish hour and about 5-mile walk planned. We'll see if we can get the whole thing in before it gets dark. But along the way, I'm going to be stopping at some of the most popular and most visited places in the city of Philadelphia, and some of my favorite places. And along the way, I'll be giving you some what I would call fun but ultimately useless facts about some of these places. And so if you're somebody that's coming to the city of Philadelphia for one of the first or second times, or even if you live here and you're looking for ways to connect with your city and get outside and do something that's fun and free, hopefully you find benefit in this video. Gonna hop on SEPTA here at Berg Station and gonna take it just a couple stops down to 2nd Street, and we'll get off at 2nd Street and then we will start our walking tour. So in some SEPTA stations, the way to get from like that platform over to this platform is to go over these walkways here, which actually can lead to some pretty cool views. Let's see. I'm trying to do this without actually missing the train that I'm here for. Is looking north, like towards Frankfurt and Northeast Fay. So yeah. I've gotten some really good photos of sunsets up here. You can see if you look this way towards the city, like I said, there is the Ben Franklin Bridge.
Accessible station for routes 5, 15, and 25.
We are at our first stop, which is on 2nd Street between, that's Arch Street down there, and behind me is Race Street. We're just a couple blocks north of the 2nd Street SEPTA stop. I walked up here to our first stop, which is going to be Elfreth's Alley. What Elfreth's Alley is the longest continuously lived on block in the United States of America, and they've kept all of the houses in the block to look like it was back in the early 1700s when these houses were built. So pretty cool stuff. Below on the street is what we would know as cobblestone streets, which are made out of round rocks taken out of the riverbed, and we'll show you some other really old preserved streets that are made out of some different material later in the video. So we'll take a walk down here. I'll shut up and you can kind of just enjoy what's going on Elfreth's Alley. It's a super popular place for people to come and take photos of, and for obvious reasons, right? It's super pretty. They have these trees that give off a really good vibe in the fall. Great place to take photos at. These are called Franklin lights. Those were designed by Ben Franklin. I think the design had something to do with the ability to repair them easier when they were broken because of the four sides. I'm not really sure, I can't really remember, but those are called Franklin lights. Leave these people alone. So there's some cool details on these buildings that I think a lot of people miss that I'll I'll try to see if I can point them out and get them right. But the first one is these like little things on the windows up here. You look down. I don't know what those are called. I think what it was though is it's a series of mirrors, so that when someone's knocking on your door, you can look at these mirrors and then see who's knocking. All right, another cool feature, if you look up at some of these, at some of the tops of the buildings, they have these things here. I think these are called fire markers. And with Philadelphia being the first city to develop fire stations in America, these were put up to tell the fire stations which houses were insured by the fire stations to have their houses put out when they were caught on fire. So that's what those things are up there. This is a cool alley that you can go down with a bunch of information. There's a bunch of kids down there, so I won't go down there, but here's this plaque here, Elfreth's Alley, dating back to 1736 and preserved through the efforts of the Elfreth's Alley Association. Cool stuff. Really, really pretty down here. All right, just a few blocks north on 2nd Street here, we're coming up to our second location here, which is going to be the Christ Church. Founded in 1695, erection of present building begun in 1727. Bells were brought from England in 1754. Among the noted persons buried here are James Wilson and Robert Morris, signers of the Declaration of Independence, and Bishop White. Okay, cool. So yeah, really old building. I think this is the birthplace of the American Episcopal Church. And people like Ben Franklin, George Washington, and Betsy Ross came to this church. It's got a really cool garden in the back. We'll take a walk around. I think we can actually go in. Looks like the doors maybe open on the other side. It's the grave of Pierce Butler, signer of the Constitution. See this brickwork here as, okay, see how this brickwork is all just like red brick, and then this brickwork here has these black ones staggered in the middle here to create this design. That is called Flemish bond is what that design of brickwork is called, and they don't really do it much anymore, I don't think, because I think it's like kind of expensive to do. I think they like bake the black bricks or something, which I don't know why. Yeah, you could tell if you touch them that they're like they have a totally different feel on the outside. It's almost like waxy. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure what makes them black, but that's what those are called. That's Flemish bond. So if you see me talk about Flemish bond in these videos, that's what I'm referring to. Pretty this time of year especially. I love stuff like this, like these old gates. I don't know if these are the originals or not. I reckon probably not, but either way, still really, really cool stuff. Love stuff like that. A place on 2nd right before you get to Market Street called the Book Trader. Really cool bookshop. So many books that the aisles are so tight you kind of have to squeeze down them. But my favorite part about it is they have this really cute and chubby cat named, I think his name is Mr. Pickles. And if you can find him, he is a really great guy to hang out with. So go check out Book Trader right about 2nd and Market. All right, one more view of the Christ Church before we move on and see some other cool locations here. All right, before we move on, I wanted to give an update on the bike lane that is on 2nd or on Market Street now, that goes at least all the way down to like Independence Hall, like the Liberty Bell area. Great, really cool stuff. It does have a little bit of separation from the road here and the parked cars, at least for the time being. I don't know if cars will be parking there when this road is like back up and going. But at least for the time being, that is a good addition to the city, especially for next season or next summer with the semi-quincentennial, World Cup, all that stuff happening. This is a great option to have for people. All right, here we are at Front and Marcus Street. There's a really cool statue over here. I believe the name of this is Tamanend. I think that's how you say it. I think that's what it is. You can see it's a representation of a Lenape Native American who were the people that welcomed William Penn and his people into the city. And he's standing on top of a turtle, and he's got an eagle on his shoulder, and he's holding his hand out, and he's actually facing. There's a bunch of stuff in the way here, but he's actually facing City Hall, which William Penn is standing on, and he is holding his hand out. So it's a statue to kind of represent the meeting and the treaty that took place between William Penn and the Lenni Lenape people. But what I think is most fascinating about this sculpture, which I think was done by a guy named Raymond Sandoval, I believe was his name. I've read somewhere that he made this in his West Philly apartment, I think, and I think the statue itself is like 20 feet tall, and I don't think that includes I don't think that includes the structure that it's standing on. Just for reference here, I mean, look at the street lights over here, right? And then look how much higher really incredible thing about anybody making this, let alone potentially in a apartment. So let's see if we can get some info on this. Yeah, I was right. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Tamanend. All right, down here on Front and Sansom Street, they are putting in the steel beams over I-95 to create the park that's going to connect the Delaware River Penn's Landing Boardwalk to the rest of Philadelphia. There isn't much there now, but it is a big it's going to be a huge space, and I'm really glad that the city of Philadelphia is reclaiming all this taken land from the citizens and the residents of Philadelphia when I-95 was built. This is going to be a really, really incredible space for people to have right in the heart of our city, right next to the historic sector of the city, and then of course right next to the Delaware River, which is going to continue our walk. I mean, these trees are so pretty, man. I love Philadelphia. I love this city. I mean, just stuff like this just makes me feel so giddy. Just watching these leaves fall just makes me appreciate being able to live somewhere like this and that has the seasons. But yeah, I was here the other day taking some photos here, some really, really pretty scenes. This is Sansom Street right here, and we're coming up to 2nd Street. And this right here is Welcome Park. And this has one of what I believe is 3 William Penn statues in the city. And it has a really cool timeline all along this back wall. And it has a huge layout on the ground here of William Penn's original layout of the city of Philadelphia. And let me take a step back so I can kind of show you here. So there he is again, William Penn, huge guy in the lore, if you will, as kids say now, in the city of Philadelphia. Layout of the city here is original layout of the city. You can see these planters right here, right, with these trees, and the him in the center there. His original layout of the city, going all the way back to, I believe, like the mid 1600s, was to have a layout like this, a grid system, which was very different from where he came from in England, which was very tight. Almost like cowpath roads that didn't really have any structure to where they were going and why they were going in a certain direction. And so you would get all these kind of roads that just kind of went wherever and crossed wherever, and they were super tight together. And there was massive fires that would take out a lot of the city. And so William Penn took his prior trauma, or his old country's prior trauma, and brought that to America and reshaped the way that city development would be planned for the rest of, for still how it is today, which is what you see in a lot of cities, this grid system here. And so when you're looking at it, you've got City Hall here. You've got each of the 4 parks that he designed, which were places for people to escape to if there were fires to happen in the city. And those parks still exist today. We've got Washington Square Park. We've got Franklin Square, Rittenhouse Square, and then Logan Square, which is now Logan Circle. Big fountain over there. Also, Wonder Years song if you're a pop punk fan. And so this is the original layout of the city. And you will see references to this and him all over the city of Philadelphia. But we're gonna go down this little alley right next to City Tavern again. I did this a couple days ago, like last weekend, and you can tell it's like already drastically different than how it was last week. So let's just take a walk down City Tavern. I believe this was opened in like 1773. I didn't want to, I second guessed myself, but I almost got it. 1773. A lot of founding fathers were coming here to hang out and drink beer and talk political bullshit and stuff. But this is a really great alley. I took a video the other day with all these yellow leaves coming down, like in that alley we were just at a couple minutes ago, and it was so pretty. And it's just, oh man, it's that time of year. It comes and it goes so quickly, but still got some good trees over here, so there are some good fall vibes still here. But man, not quite as good as it was a couple days ago. I'll drop the video right now, starting right at this lamp, of what it looked like a couple days ago, right here. But right at the end of that little alley behind City Tavern, you've got one of my favorite buildings in Philadelphia, right at 3rd and Walnut, which is the Merchant Exchange Building. I'm not going to try to remember what year this was built, although I believe it was the early 1800s. I love that this building has withstood the test of time. It still looks incredible, and it's so popular. People come and take like wedding and engagement photos and stuff here. What's just really interesting about it is that if you look in the windows up here, the lights are on and stuff, and I'm like pretty certain I saw someone open this door and walk in there the other day. And when I say someone, I don't mean like a worker. I mean like someone who maybe is using that to stay warm and dry from inclement weather when they're trying to sleep, if that makes sense to you. And so I just don't understand. I have to look into that and see if this is open or not. But I love these old lions on here that look like they're like laying down and sleeping. They're like super worn out from just like all the weathering, and yeah, this building's really fucking cool. Yeah, man, just look at, dude, fall is incredible. It's my favorite time of year, hands down. No comparison to fall. Absolutely love it. Okay, so behind the Merchant Exchange Building, we're on 3rd and Walnut. I'm gonna cross in front of this person. So sorry, thank you. Okay, so in this little park over here, I forget what this park is called, but there's this giant bell, and that was a gift to the city of Philadelphia, I believe in 1976 for the 200th birthday of America. I believe that was given to the city of Philadelphia by none other than the Queen of England herself. And there was like a huge party here. The Queen was here. The interesting thing about that is I think it's really interesting that the Queen gifted Philadelphia and essentially the city, or I mean the country of the United States, a bell that represents those people revolutionizing against the English government. I think that's really fun. All right, so just past the Merchant Exchange building and just past that bell that I showed you that the Queen of England gave us for kicking the shit out of her ancestors and forming our own country is the First National Bank right here on 3rd Street. And what's interesting about this bank is at the top of it here, it has this eagle, right? This is believed to be the first use of the American eagle as a symbol of the United States on a building in America. I think that's the fact there. It's actually not made out of stone. I believe it's actually made out of mahogany, and it's painted in order to look like the rest of the stone on the building. I have always really wanted to go into this building because it has a really, really cool glass dome on it, and they're doing a ton of work on it right now in order to reopen it for next summer for the semi-quincentennial. And I was walking by the other day and I could see they were doing work in there, and the door was open, and I couldn't see the dome at all, but even just being able to see the fact that the door was open and that they're working on it, and that eventually in the future I'll be able to go in there and look at that dome was super, super exciting. I can't wait for it. So that's something I personally am really, really looking forward to. This is a cool little alley behind the first bank. I forget what this alley is called, but I believe there used to be a river here, and I think a lot of people got sick and died from the river that used to run back here. And you can see a little bridge over there, and that's Carpenters Hall over there, which is where we are going next. We're gonna stop looks like there's some families taking some really pretty fall photos. Actually a really great scene. But yeah, I think there was a river here. Oh, maybe this plaque will tell us more about this river that I remember hearing about. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I was right. Here it is. Okay, so the historic Dock Creek in front of you marks the location of Dock Creek, a spring-fed tidal stream that flowed here when Philadelphia was founded. Its waters emptied into the Delaware River about 4 blocks ahead of you. By 1767, city waste had fouled the water so badly that sections of the creek were arched over and covered by Dock Street. Today, only traces of the creek bed remain. So yeah, I had this right. There was a creek here, Dock Creek, and it got so contaminated by waste that people, and I think we didn't really know as much as we do now, and I think people were like bathing in it and maybe drinking it and stuff, and so people were potentially dying from this creek, which is awful to think about. All right, right on. So some information on the building rehabilitation and addition to the First Bank of the United States. The roof is being replaced and the brick and stone exterior walls are being repaired to make the building watertight. Interior finishes and systems are being replaced to make the building safe for occupancy. An addition is being construction at the rear of the building to provide an accessible entrance, lobby, elevator, and egress stair. That's really cool because, like I said, with this being such a, it'll be such a booming area next summer with the semi-quincentennial, the World Cup, the MLB All-Star Game, all the stuff that's happening here. It's really important for historical places like this to have accessible entrances. So I'm glad that they're doing all of this work now. And you can see, I think this is the addition here. It looks like that's the addition that they put on. I'm really excited to go in there, man. That's really, really cool stuff, I think. All right, so going back down this little alleyway, I think we're going back towards Arch Street now. But before we do that, we're gonna go over here to Carpenters Hall. This place is really, really cool too. I don't think it's open, but still really, really cool to check out. And remember earlier in the video we were talking about like really, really old steps that you can see the indentation of. This is one of them. Like, look at that step there and how indented it is. And just think about how many people have stepped on that, and important people too. Like some really, really, really important people in American history were in this building. God, man. Even on like a gloomy day in the afternoon where it's like starting to get dark, the fall colors are just like so incredible. I think a couple years ago, I'll have to look up how long. I think someone tried to burn this town a couple years ago. I think it was like a disgruntled employee or something, and I think they tried to start a fire in the basement, and like somebody that was walking by smelt it and alerted somebody and caught it in time. Thank God, because we don't, like I said earlier, a lot of these old historic buildings we don't really realize are historic, so we demolish them and then have to rebuild like replicas and stuff like that. So I think that is one of the buildings that is an original, and thank God that it didn't get burned down. How catastrophic would that have been? So yeah, the reason that Carpenters Hall is important: First Continental Congress was meeting here, led by John and Sam Adams. In a letter to his wife Abigail, John Adams wrote, "There is in Congress a collection of the greatest men upon this continent in point of abilities, virtues, and fortunes." And he was obviously talking about the people that would help start the American Revolution and the start of the United States. Completed in 1774. Really, really old building. All right, so right across 4th Street from Carpenters Hall, you'll have this little plot of land here. You've got this statue of, I think that's Robert Morris over there. Yeah, Robert Morris. But these trees over here are super pretty, which is the reason I walked over here. Robert Morris, patriot, statesman, financier. So in this little courtyard here is the Second Bank of America, which we were just at the First Bank of America we saw over by Carpenters Hall. This is the Second Bank of America, which I think is thought to be like one of the best examples of Greek architecture in the United States, or maybe even in the world. I know it's really highly thought of. Right behind the Second National Bank is the, I think this is Library Hall, and it has this statue of Ben Franklin in a toga up there. And I believe this is where, like when the Eagles make the Super Bowl and stuff, they like put an Eagles hat on him and stuff. It's kind of cool. That's the only really thing I know about that building in particular. Right across the street from that, some accessible entrances over to Independence Square. Love that. Independence Square is the location where the Declaration of Independence was read aloud to the residents of Philadelphia for the first time. And that happened right at the steps behind this building over here. Where John Nixon read the Declaration of Independence aloud to the residents of Philadelphia for the first time. And came out of those steps, the same place where that guy with the giant box is that just waved to me. Thanks for waving, buddy. He came out of these steps, read the Declaration of Independence aloud, and it's obviously very big moment in American history. Okay, so right behind Independence Square, right across the street, we're now at 6th Street. Right across the street from that, you will find Washington Square Park, which was one of the 5 original parks that William Penn had included in his original grid layout of the city. And this pretty much any public park that you see in Philadelphia, especially this one, there are a lot of dead people buried here. Soldiers, slaves, all sorts of people were buried here. And there's actually a tomb of an unknown soldier up here. I think while they were doing some construction at one point, they dug up a soldier that they could not identify, and he is memorialized here in Washington Square Park. But this is one of those parks that William Penn had strategically placed in the grid layout and design of the city of Philadelphia so that people could have, one, a space to enjoy in the city that wasn't just city streets and their houses, but two, as a safe haven for spots for people to come if there were really big detrimental fires to take place in the city. They could come here and kind of escape while the fire department was taking care of it. And you can see how much area there are here. Again, you'll see those Franklin lights that we talked about, and then a big fountain here in the middle. Coming up to the fountain, there's a bunch of kids coming, so I won't show them. But I wanted to show Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, I believe is what it's called. Here you can read it here. In unmarked graves within this square lie thousands of unknown soldiers of Washington's army who died of wounds and sickness during the Revolutionary War. Freedom is a light for which many men have died in darkness. Washington Square Park. Probably, in my opinion, the second best of the original parks of William Penn's plan. My favorite is by far Rittenhouse Square, but this one is my second favorite. All right, so here we are, Independence Mall, across the street from Independence Hall. You've got the Liberty Bell over here, which we're not gonna go see today because I have to go to the bathroom really bad. My phone is dying. And I wanna show you guys one more thing on this video, Ben Franklin's grave, before we finish it up. For that though, I have to go to the visitor center to use the bathroom. If you are down here and you need a bathroom, there's typically bathrooms in this building right here. They are closed right now. I think it's after hours. There's a sign saying to go over to the visitor center. So I'm on my way over there right now. If you're over here and you don't want to wait in the line for the Liberty Bell, you can go where those people are standing over there, and there's a little window that you can look at and see the bell without actually going in, without actually going through security, without actually waiting in the line. And yeah, it's a good compromise if you're just trying to do it quick without doing like the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? I forget what it's called, but there's a little slab of concrete over there that was specifically made for the purpose of protesting and having protests. I think that's pretty cool. That's an important part of American history. Over here is the president's house. I'm showing you guys more stuff than I thought I was going to. Over here is the president's house. George Washington, I believe, lived here. Obviously, this is not his house. It's just like the the layout of his house. But over here was where I think his but yeah, you can like read all of these things. There's usually stuff on these TVs that tell you everything about it, but I don't know, maybe because the government shut down that they don't have this. I'm actually even surprised this is open. This must be city run, because I thought this would be closed down. Here is a better look at the end of this bike lane. So it ends on 6th and Market. You're looking at it all the way down at 2nd and Market earlier. Goes all the way down. That's pretty cool stuff. really, 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 really great addition to the city, especially with this being separated from not only the sidewalk, but from the actual street too. And even though there's not a huge curb here, the curb being there is going to be huge. Because I've always thought that the city could do a better job with all of this land. I mean, like, look at the amount of land that's between me and Independence Hall, and then the other way, the amount of land that's between me and the National Constitution Center. There is so much land here, and I rarely ever see this get utilized by the city, and I think that's a huge miss. I thought that this was a really good spot to hold the FIFA fan festivals that are going to be in Lemon Hill and Fairmount Park next summer. There's so much room here. There's so much room. Maybe with it being like maybe it's like a national park, and maybe that causes some issue with the planning and stuff. But I would love to see this space get utilized more, and I feel like it rarely ever does. All right, so our last stop for today is going to be the Christ Church Burial Ground, which is the location where Ben Franklin is actually buried. And a long time ago, Boston, a couple people in Boston tried really, really hard to move Ben Franklin from this burial ground to where his parents are buried in Boston. And there was this guy, Robert Winthrop, who really led the charge in trying to get Ben moved. And he, in a meeting once, quoted an anonymous quoter. And this quote essentially said that the burial site of Ben Franklin is so hidden and so little known to the people of Philadelphia that many residents have no idea where it is and could not direct people to where he's actually buried. So in order to keep those efforts from happening and having Ben dug up and moved to Boston where his parents are located, the city decided to make it more accessible to the people of Philadelphia by knocking down part of this brick wall and putting up a fence that allowed people to come and view his burial site without much keeping them from doing so. So here is that plot right here. And by his wishes, he was buried right next to his wife, and not moved to Boston where that guy Robert Winthrop wanted to move him to. And every day, that lady that was just here actually just came and swept up all the pennies and coins that are thrown onto this gravestone every day. And the reason I bring that up is I think it's ironic that one of Ben Franklin's like most famous quotes, I'm probably going to misquote him here, but something along the lines of "a penny saved is a dollar earned," something like that. And then as part of a good luck ritual, people come and throw their pennies onto his grave. So I thought that was really funny. This is the last stop on the tour today, Ben Franklin.